Welcome back to the second hour of Love Babz Love Talk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy, and that's Enroue. Happy birthday!
Thank you. Thank you.
How you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Um, First, I want to send there's like so much happening. So first, just thank you for the birthday wishes. 55 is great. Um, yeah, loving it. So that's one thing. And then also sending greetings out to all the traditions, right? These Abrahamic traditions are all like doing a thing right now. So Hag Pesach Sameach, the folks celebrating Passover, um, Ramadan Mubarak, those celebrating Ramadan. I guess it's the official end of Lent today, and happy Easter coming up. So, um, greetings to all those folks celebrating there. Spring continues to unfold, and whatever else folks really hold um, dear and connects you, or really us, to the sacred, right? And our relationship with the divine. So I just want to, it seems like a very kind of primed time to just greet folks and honor as folks are navigating what that relationship is, right? What their accountability is to the sacred and to the divine in their lives. So just sending greetings to everyone, however it's unfolding, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right. So, and then from there, we'll honor our ancestors, and then we'll keep rolling along.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into it.
So again, we are honoring and thanking our ancestors for the ashe that they have left for us. And we are using that ashe. We are picking it up and we're using it in our lives. That's the chant. Ba 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 tofu ashe o. Ba 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 tofu ashe. Ba 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 tofu ashe o. Ba 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 tofu ashe. Ashe te fuan lan lo yu. Ba 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 tofu ashe. Ba ye ye tofu ashe o. Ba ye ye tofu ashe. Ba ye ye tofu ashe o. Ba ye ye tofu ashe. Ashe te fuan lan lo yu. Ba ye ye tofu ashe. Ba egungun tofu ashe o. Ba egungun tofu ashe. Ba egungun tofu ashe o. Ba egungun tofu ashe. Ashe te fuan lan lo yu. Ba egungun tofu ashe. Ba egungun tofu ashe. Ba egungun tofu ashe. Say.
That's it. All right.
How are you today, Babz?
You know what? I'm good. I'm I'm in a good space these days. No, I'm not without challenges like anybody else, but nothing is crippling me or breaking
Mm,
my spirit.
mm,
So,
good.
you know,
Good.
well, that could change, but right now we good.
Well, this is where we are right now.
Yes, this is where we are right
But the
now.
next moment, tomorrow, here we are, and being with that is like being really here now in this present is challenging enough. And so to like recognize the stable enough, right? The good enough, the present enough is important. So I'm glad to hear that.
I'm glad to say it.
Yeah. Yes, I was thinking about this. Um, right? This time, which I think, I mean, for me, it's kind of ongoing, but like, what is, our relationships and my relationship with the divine, and what is also asked of me in that part of that relationship. And I don't know. I feel that like my kind of work or the direction to keep moving in is to like try to be a real person, right? And that enough, right? To kind of undo all these messages of not good enough or dehumanizing things, is a challenge, right? And to not fall into um, kind of popular notions about what that means. So concretely, the thing that comes to my mind actually is about like notions of masculinity.
Mm.
And I come. There was a real. I remember my dad saying to me once, kind of the men, the Halfkenny men, um, would the thing that would kind of shift them into any kind of like aggression or violence or anything was really about protection. Like that's what kind of got people like, I will do what like that question of, well, what will I do to protect like those closest to me? And the narrative in this culture, particularly for men, centers around that. Like our job is this like provider protector piece. And um, throughout my life, I've really been struggling with that and questioning it and undoing it, because there's a lot of dysfunction that's in that. And I'll actually really narrow space about what it means to be a man, or what it means to be male, or what it means, like what does masculinity mean. And even as I looked at my own family, that line that my dad gave me was not totally true, right? And this. So my grandfather, so the kind of ways I learned about things, I learned at a young age that my grandfather was a boxer. He got a Golden Gloves. Right, and I was like, oh, I used to watch boxing with my dad growing up. It's not something I watch now because watching usually two black men hit each other is not my favorite form of entertainment. Even though I understand the skill and kind of what's in that, right? Um, but I began to learn more about my grandfather's story. So he actually learned how to fight primarily to protect his mom and his siblings. He was the oldest of five, from his dad, from the ways that his dad would lash out, and abuse his mom, abuse my great grandmother and the kids, his siblings. And that was really the learning. So both kind of as like a formal boxer, and then also the kind of underground street fighting scene to make more money, right? To make money to help support the family, and to provide. So my grandfather then, and this is, there's all kinds of other layers around, so what does systematic oppression and racism, white supremacy do to people? What are our coping skills? So he also struggled with, as many folks did, with alcohol abuse. But he made some decisions that, the however the pain transformed into aggression or violence or lashing out, he wouldn't do that to his kind of immediate family. So my dad told me a story of, his parents, my grandparents got into an argument, and my grandfather just like was like getting really angry and walked out, right, so that nothing would happen. And my dad followed him, and I think my dad, was probably around 8 or so. And my grandfather like went out for a while and pretty much this is in Boston, walked into an area, where he knew there would be trouble, and came across a group of like somewhere between 5 and 7 guys, and got into a fight and leveled them. And my dad had followed him and was kind of watching this unfold. So you can imagine that impact of that also. And when that was done, my grandfather turned around to go back home and saw my dad and was kind of taken aback, and then just like grabbed my dad's hand and they walked back home. and nothing was ever said about it. And so like that's a you know, there's this like better than like being violent towards this family, but still these acts kind of unfolding. My dad, um, you know, to his credit, kind of never. I mean, when he was younger, I think you know got into fights, and there was stuff around alcohol addiction, which certainly fed into that. Right, I can't work on feelings, and so they kind of come out in these other ways. And then got sober when I was probably about 10. Um, and you know, it's interesting. His mode was so kind of doing stuff outside in the world, being involved in justice work, you know, confronting other people being violent towards Black communities as well as the police. So there's certainly a lot of violence that he was participating in, but nothing ever aimed at us. You know, he had the look, right? He had the like, oh, you're out of line, and like we would get like the look, and you know that was as a young person was scary, and I certainly like stopped whatever I was doing and just did what I was told. And then being a parent myself, I remember I kind of thought like, well, the look is like that's a good tool to have, right? And I remember my youngest. So this wasn't said to me. This was said to my wife, and then my wife told me this is that my youngest said to me, and they were probably about or less than they were probably like between 5 and 7. Said to my wife like, "Oh, I get really scared when Papa does that," and it like hit me in this completely different way than I thought. Right? I kind of thought like, well, you know, I'm not gonna hit you. I'm not gonna like really like shake or terrorize you or anything, but like, oh, the look is kind of that's all right. And then when they said that, I was like, oh, that's still in the spectrum of using violence and aggression to get my way. Right? Like,
Mm.
I don't like what they're doing. I want them to just do what I'm saying. I'm frustrated. I don't have the capacity to like navigate, negotiate something. So like, boom, I use that and that'll work. And then realizing, oh, that's still using power, right? This threat of something happening, which is really what the look is, right? Like I could destroy you. I'm not gonna, but I'm gonna let you know, right?
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with them, and I said I wasn't gonna do that anymore, because I didn't want that to be the way that our relationship was. And so I then said, well, if I'm not using that, we need to come up with some other ways when you're not doing something or your end of things, so that we work together on this.
Although I like a good
Um,
look, though, I must say.
well,
I know,
yeah,
I
I
get
get
it,
it. No, no,
and I
no. I
love the way
get
that
it.
you explained it. I love that,
I
but
get it. I get it. And this is like a part of what we're taught, right? That like, and this is a part of the society we're in is that there's still this assertion of like power over someone. Like I have power over you, so I'm gonna give you this look, and you know, and because there's and there the only reason a look is effective is because there's a threat behind it.
yes.
It's unsaid, it is vague and amorphous, but it is there, right? It's the
Like,
like
you
I
don't know
have
what's
power.
gonna happen, but you know something's gonna happen.
Right, and I will use it, and this is the line, right? And so I made this decision because like I don't use that to other folks,
That's
right?
and yes, yes. Like, you
Right?
don't do it
So
to your boss if you had a boss, right? Like,
or like, you know, I don't like something that a friend is doing, right? I'm not using that and leverage in the same way. And even people who are, you know, I'm like supervising or whatever, you know, there are other kind of ways to do it. It's like there are other tools, right? I don't have to prove that, but there's something in the family, right? And so I said, so why? It is crazy that I would use a tool that's a threat of violence to someone who is closer to me than some other person, right?
yeah.
And so I just started really kind of this like thinking and undoing these kind of processes. So that's kind of this one aspect around like not just maleness, but like there's a the threat of violence and aggression and like how that's used by men is just super prevalent. And then also realizing that like in some of these like prayerful spaces and these like quiet listenings that I do, like I would have these images of like something happening and me needing to like protect my family. And realizing that like there's such this confusion of like the value or the love, what will I do for that? Will I hurt someone, which I would like not voluntarily do? And to what extent would I do that if I was threatened? And like those are actually not things that are occurring around me, right? But like there's such a deeply entrenched notion of a demonstration of love, a demonstration of my value is in my capacity to wield this kind of power and violence and aggression on someone else, to like make them do something or to protect a thing. um, and it's just crazy. And in this place of, so as this kind of arises, what I'm doing is I'm just noticing like, oh, here's this thing around, like there's something about protection that's here, and it's much harder to allow myself to feel tender and vulnerable in my heart, that
Mm,
there are actually things that are outside of my control, that yes, I may be able to protect if that arises, and I may not be, and my value and my love for them is not contingent on that. And it's just this like reflection that I've been sitting with recently, and all the ways that like these messages of what it means to be a man and a protector, or in a certain role in a relationship and with family, that that's the demonstration of love. That's the demonstration of my value and a role that I'm in. And I think, it feeds into this other piece around like, I'll tear down these systems, I'll fight these systems, and there's less, with that, as we're trying to be free, there's less attention paid to what does freedom even mean? What does love really mean? Can I feel into it? Versus, oh, I'll transform the like feeling hurt and vulnerable into anger and aggression because then I can do something. Well, what does it mean to actually be in this place of relationship that's centering love, that's centering love for myself, love for the people I care about? And then as we look into like the divine, like receiving that love and giving it, like being with kind of love and tenderness, as we're really vulnerable in the world. Like we're not going to be here, right? I say this a lot in this as we talk, like, our lives are finite. Um, and just like as the spring is coming, these like tender shoots are up, which can you look at them too hard and they fall over and like, oh, now like it's not really going to fully grow into a thing. Um, life is precious and tender, complicated, strong, resilient, all the things. Yet there's so much of an emphasis on the like, I'm going to push through, I'll numb out, I'll compartmentalize this out to protect, to do the thing, to move the thing forward. And for me, and I think this time is again this like reflected time. What does it really mean to be in relationship with ourselves, our communities, and the divine, around sacrifice, around our own behaviors, around liberation, around these kind of renewals? Um, and can we hold these things in whatever moment we're in, whether it's the like time of the holiday, the time of the reflection or not? Particularly since like so much madness is going on, uh,
oh,
so much,
so
um,
much.
so much like confusion around what's real and what's not. And can we kind of come back to what it means to be a person, deal with some of these questions and deal with some of these relationships? And that's my hope. And I think that that's really the thing that will hold us through and holds us through, holds me through these difficult times in the past, and ones to come. Is that orientation around something that is also greater than my particular um, pain or suffering or confusion or angst or heartbreak or anger or whatever it is, that are I'm also part of and in relationship to, that are larger than my particulars.
Hmm. I mean,
I'll
that's
take
a
a breath there.
no, but this is a good meditation, as we are in spring, right? More so for me than like New Year's, right, than January,
Mm,
but
yeah,
that because everything around you is starting to sort of renew, renew and
yeah,
and begin again.
right.
So this is a good meditation to walk,
Yeah.
and we're in this very holy season, right? It's a very holy time for a great many religious spaces and places. Like this
Hmm.
is so it's all so it I mean I'm not lost the symmetry of all of that is not lost
Yeah.
on folks of faith or folks of faith.
Yeah. And I want to say that what do we want to renew, right? And this piece around faith and these larger questions are not separate from the day to day. They're not distinct from how I show up for my beloveds, how I show up at work, how I show up on commuting, how I show up between here and there. Um, all of it can be infused. And our notions of healing, our notions of justice, our notions of wholeness, right? That this aspect of spirit and renewal can move through all of that as well. Imagine what we create in our lives, right, as individuals and in families and communities, what we create in our workplaces, what we create and then in government, right, being infused by these notions of cycles of renewal. Right? How do we recommit to not just my way and you're bad, which happens a lot, right? You're the other and my way is right and you're wrong. So whatever I feel is justified to do to you, even in the name of faith. I think I want to question those things, which means a lot of undoing, right? And a lot of connecting to these deeper feelings of uncertainty or confusion or fear, but also the beauty and the love and the yearning for connection that's also there, like the yearning for like place and community, home and safety. Um, can we show up in those spaces for ourselves, with ourselves, and with our relationship to the divine and the sacred? And can we then let that show up in our relationships with other folks and even the earth itself? Are we not crap all over things just because it doesn't seem like it's on our side? I had to do a quick little shifting of what I wanted to say because we're all on the radio and everything. um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
I
Can we
like this
stretch
meditation.
our liberation? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I like that. Say more. Stretch our liberation.
Yeah, like is I would say it is a small lowercase L if liberation is just about like my blank, right? My people, my home, my body, my like that's a lowercase L. And can we stretch into this uppercase L that connects us to wholeness and like our personhood? It doesn't diminish or ignore the particulars of identity, the particulars of trauma, the particulars of systems of oppression, how they land on us, right, and how we interact with each other. And so, can there be that wholeness, which also says, oh, we're actually human beings. Oh, and us being human beings means we're also in relationship to all the things that are not human beings as well, and not in some like imaginative, like everything is just beautiful and you don't have to pay attention to the things, and you know, but with our eyes really open, right, and really feeling like, oh, you seem, we got to be saved. You seem so different, and like, what would liberation mean, really, if it was really for all of us? And those include things like housing, education, healthcare, right? All of that, right? Because our health shouldn't be contingent on these other things, right? Oh, if you can, afford it, then you get to live well. Like, really? That's what we're creating, right? To live well, you got to look a certain way, you got to operate a certain way, you got to claim or not claim certain things. Huh, That's not even a lowercase L. That's like, we're not even going to call that any part of that liberation. So what is it? What does that uppercase L really mean? Questioning. So as like these notions of protection, right? As I was talking about before. Oh, that's not it's not liberation. I get to kill or hurt. Oh, well, what would what would it mean to create systems and a culture where a person didn't feel the need that they had to go do that thing so they could live, so they could be well,
Hmm.
right?
Wow.
What would
That's
that
a
mean?
that's a big that's a big
That's a
big
big L.
question. Yeah, it's a
That's a
big
big L.
Woo! That's
Yeah.
a we need a retreat to unpack this one.
So in this time of reflection, right, what does this mean? So like if we're talking about like the divine and our relationship to the sacred and God and our notions of that, those that's a big these are big forces. And so can that big force is that big force on our team, right? Or is that big force actually operating even bigger than we can imagine? And if so, can we allow ourselves to be open to that, even as we have to navigate our day to day?
That's some big thinking. Talk about a
Tis the season.
stretch.
Tis the season.
Now that's a stretch. Okay.
Well,
I
let us
like
be
it.
stretched, right? Can we trust and allow ourselves to be stretched in our relationship with the sacred?
Mighty word. I like it though. I think it's a natural uh it's a natural state of contemplation that makes sense, particularly in this season,
Mhm.
right? Um and I like the application of your everyday practical life. Like your everyday practical life outside of this season of holiness and sacredness. Your
Right?
everyday practical life goes on, right? Like we'll move into summer, right? Like there are no holy days in summer. So except summer is the holy time, right? It's just summer. Um,
Right? Right?
I kind of like that. Ooh, it's like homework. Like, is this because you
Yes.
pose the question? You're like, well, can you?
So I say yes, you can,
Okay.
and the invitation is to find your way to do that. Like,
Mm.
and that's the stretching into the relationship. Just like when you're with a beloved person, right? There are invitations to stretch into that more, right? Oh, more connection, more tenderness, more in the places of not even knowing what love and connection mean. It's not something to figure out because it keeps unfolding. Plants, they keep unfolding,
They do.
right?
With water and attention and
With the things that are life affirming. We don't have like a whole lot of plants outside don't need us to go watering them. Whole planet has a whole system. We are tending to actually get in the way of that right now, right? That's the problem, right? We're like, I know better. And it turns out, oh, maybe we don't always know better. So
yeah,
can we be open to that stretching of like what that might even mean? Can we listen into that space?
yeah.
Oh, I've been in this relationship and I'm causing, and it's awful, and like, oh, we're going at each other. Oh, all right. So how can I be in it differently? Can I not give a look and communicate something differently so that things get done and it's not about me wielding and um, asserting fear and a threat of violence?
Yeah. That's pretty powerful, actually. Now I wish I could go back and unparent some stuff.
Well, the good thing is you're still a parent, so you get to
Well, yeah.
you still get to pivot.
Yes, I think I have already pivoted because I know I don't control a damn thing they do. So I'm just a consultant and no longer the manager. So
Did they know that? I mean, so all right, I'm not going to get too much. So like, as we shift, like there was power in not just me not giving a look, but communicating to my youngest because doing your needs differently. And I'm doing something I don't want to do. So I want to undo it. I don't just want to not perpetuate it. I want to undo it. So
yeah,
there's that invitation too. We can always engage in a process of undoing those things. Again, towards that big L.
yeah, 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 yeah. Always a pleasure.
Me too, Babz. Thank you.
This was just what we needed. So how did you celebrate how are you celebrating your birthday? 55 is 55 is
It's
pretty
it's
amazing.
it's
I
great.
I remember 55.
Last year it was your 2 years. No, I
I
actually
almost 5 years ago. Oh,
uh, just trying to slow down,
really?
deepen. Yeah, I mean, it's about deepening my life and my practices. I mean, there are kind of things to do that I want to do, but like fundamentally, it's like, what I'm saying is, can I be present differently with this big L in the things that I'm doing? Can I like breathe fully in all the things that I'm doing? And I feel what's happening in the things that I'm doing. So
Hmm.
can I be connected to like people and places and sacred and mundane and same way.
Well, when I see you next, I owe you a big, big hug for the
Woohoo! I
for the
will gladly
birthday.
take it. I will gladly take it all. Thank you,
Thank you.
Babz.
Thank you for your words of wisdom and your leadership and your guidance. Thank you very much. You make my life better.
Ah, Babz.
All right.
So good to be in this time and place with you.
Thank you very much. And I will see you soon.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Take good care. All right, Harry Droves, we are out. And this is not a AI situation. We are really, really, I am really, really here. So and I'll be back tomorrow with Dwayne Betts and Titus Kafar to talk about this little beauty redaction. So I'll see y'all tomorrow.